Hello, now we're doing a resume for Jhomara Silva. What I think is the case is that this resume is written in Portuguese, um, judging from the very, very little that I'd known. So I would recommend that if you are applying for any role, especially if it's a remote role where the company exists in a country that is not where you're based, ensure that you also have your resume in English as well as the Portuguese one. So then at the very least, if they are assessing candidates in English, which most of them will be doing so, then they can at least understand, um, and they can understand your resume, and they won't need to they won't reject you just because your resume isn't in English, and they may have an assumption that you're actually not looking for a remote role and whatnot. First thing that comes to mind for me is the ordering. So formal education and your certifications is written at the top. First thing is that the dates are in chronological order. They should be in reverse chronological order. So show the things that you've done most recently. So this is your education that's most recent, so that should go first, and then your degree should go after that. Put dates in your certifications as well. You don't have to, but it would be helpful to see when did you acquire them, what was the time period for all of these. As for your professional experience, don't include the title prefix, just include the role that you had. So if you was a senior product manager, then just include that, or senior product owner, just include that. Then also at the same time, you don't need to include I'm just checking for consistency. Okay, so you have the company name written directly after, which makes sense, and then the dates. Align these to the right. It helps the document look cleaner on that front. And then the other big, so do that for all of them. And then the other big issue that needs to be resolved is your experience speaks to mainly a lot about what you did day to day. So managing a backlog, aligning with stakeholders, things like that. So which is good, but most organizations won't really care about what you did. They care about the impact of what you did. And some of your bullet points are also too long. Some of your experience points are too long. So this is already 5 lines, when actually what you should be putting in here is the impact and the performance and the result of and outcomes of your work. So it's outcomes. Your resume should always be outcomes based, for sure. So make sure that you start off with the outcome, then followed by what you did and how you did it. Also, your section, your profile section here is also too long. You should cut this by half, at least. A maximum of 3 lines, 4 lines at a push. It's great that you mentioned that you've got 18 years experience, and that you are a product management specialist, product owner specialist, and you've got certifications. You mentioned your MBA and how you're able to maximize ROI, etc. That's great, reducing time to market or accelerating time to market. But you need to also showcase raw numbers, like how much revenue did the work that you worked on contribute towards. I think that's something that's really impactful. When you're thinking about product metrics as well, mention things like product activation. If some of the organizations you work with were PLG organizations, then mention things like what your North Star metric is, and also mention the types of organizations that you tend to benefit most in. It seems like you mention it to some degree: financial industries, financial consulting industries, which is great. If that is the case, then keep that as it is. But if I've read this wrong and I've translated this incorrectly, then feel free to include the actual industry that you prefer to work in. That's basically it overall. This again would bring it up to a baseline. I think your skills, your hard skills are fine. I like the fact that you've grouped them, which most people actually don't do very well. So that's great. The fact you use Jira, agile framework, as we all know. Agile methodology, etc. So the rest seems fine, and the fact that your resume is on 2 pages is actually a good start. Well, almost 3 pages, but it's still a good start. I think you can still reduce some of this. So each one should just basically have 1 metric per outcome, what you did in order to accomplish it, and any other additional information. But it shouldn't be too verbose. You don't want to include too many words on there unnecessarily. As long as your main keywords are included, you should be fine. I think you fix those issues that should then bring you back in line with where everybody else would be and help you to be more competitive against other candidates. That's probably it that I can mention. I'm just going to check and see if there's anything else from my separate list that needs to be included. I've already mentioned about the fact that you need an English resume as well. I think there was one typo. I might have mentioned it before. Yeah, there's one typo here that you need to include as well. Just make sure that, I believe this should be 2022, but just make sure that you put that there so it's clear. Yeah, it might also be easier putting, well, you know, it's fine you showing the month of the year. Okay, 12th we know is December, 10 we know is October, but it could also be worth writing out the month itself in full. Well, not in full, but the first three letters. So October, OCT, November, NOV, etc. But that's just a personal preference. I don't necessarily think that this will impact you in any way. And I think that's basically it. But again, these changes would just put you in line with everybody else. It won't necessarily give you an advantage because everyone who makes similar changes to their resume would then be, you'd then be on equal footing. And so then the next step you need to think about is how can you differentiate yourself and ensure that the experience that you're showing here is stronger than what other candidates can provide. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions?
Let me know. Thanks. Bye.